it's a little bittersweet to grind up to level 34 just so that I could get that scene, just so that I can get credits. Why did you do this? Video game developers. Why? Why? I do not understand. So with the glasses guy, they make him seem like a hidden content or something. I think I had one or two quests with him. I don't remember. He was Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw is the second best house. I can hear arguments for first best house. You know, what was the owls? Did you miss it? You were AFK. I didn't have to do anything for the owls or OWLs. Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm a little disappointed in that. I thought I was gonna get like a test or something. I don't know. Uh, something, you know. But anyways, Hogwarts Legacy 1 has been conquered. Woot woot. Let's see. For my first impressions based off of day 1 and day 2, I feel like the game has provided a compelling start that quickly turned into the patented mow the lawn approach. With only 8 hours or so in, it admittedly feels very slow. I'm struggling to not say that I'm bored, but definitely find myself not engrossed. School at Hogwarts doesn't feel like that at all. I should probably just turn down the volume of this game. Um, School at Hogwarts doesn't feel like that at all. I don't feel invested in the fantasy that I'm taking classes with an eclectic group of instructors and students. Instead, it feels like I'm thrusted into this large space with a rich history, and that is meant to do a lot of the heavy lifting. So, those are my first 2 days' impressions and my overall thoughts, which is actually one of the most unique overall thoughts that I'll ever have because I've been put in the unique position where I beat the game, but I didn't get credits yet, so I continued playing until I got credits. So I I got to write down stuff all the way up to the end, which was interesting. Never done that before. But my overall thoughts for this game are I thought the game was okay, but it was on the downturn of okay. Um, Admittedly, I'm I'm a fan of like the Harry Potter universe in the sense of my only interactions with them are the movies. And I like most of the movies, or maybe a fair chunk of the movies is maybe more accurate. So I can understand why this game may have wanted to do something that's not necessarily the movies, but man, did I want something else than what this game gave me. I felt like this game was a an open world game first, and then everything else came secondary to the open worldness, and that just rubbed me completely the wrong way. Um, I didn't like the approach. I wish everything was much more contained and focused on specific aspects. I wish the story was continuous and didn't have various open world trappings of, like you start a main story quest, you go do some things, and it's like, oh, hold on, you gotta wait a little while, so go do some other stuff and then come back when we're ready or something like that. I wasn't a fan of those approaches. So yeah, story was it satisfying? I'm gonna say no on this one. Uh, I I think there were some nice things going on with it, but in actuality, I I just don't feel like the individual story beats felt satisfying. Did it feel complete? I will reluctantly say it feels complete. Again, I wanted more from this game, but the game, for what it gave me a story that started and it ended. How was the pacing? Pacing was atrocious because, you know, it's an open world game, which has a lot to do with my play style as well. Because I get a main story quest and I go do a bunch of side quests and things like that. But even without the main, or even without me diverting off of the main story quest, there were still moments where you had to go do other things before you could do the main story quest. And something I don't have written here actually is that there are gates to activating the main story quest as well. So, in a way, maybe not even in a way, just this game forces you to engage in the open world aspects of it so that you can progress the main story. And that to me is the wrong approach to doing a an open world game. You shouldn't force people to do all the collectibles so that they could do the main story quest. And you certainly shouldn't force your players to grind levels so that they can get to the level that you want them to be, only to get a like 2 to 3 minute cutscene just to end the game. Hello. Yeah, pacing was terrible. Thoughts on the story? I like the game's starting off point. It immediately gives us an antagonist, a mystery, introduction, and starts us off with a bang, so to speak. The initial cutscenes, like being attacked by the dragon, making a way to the bank, and then the ancient magic areas. I I enjoyed the start of this game, and I think that was one of the more memorable parts. It's because it's like, wow, like they did a pretty good job of setting the stage for what I can expect and like the things that I want to engage in. Going through the bank was cool. Going through the ancient magic areas and like learning our first spells and fighting these dudes, it was cool. However, once Hogwarts is finally introduced, the nice momentum dies off fairly quickly because we learn that we are not attending Hogwarts, air quotes. To say it another way, we aren't going to school, doing school activities, and getting into student shenanigans. Trying to zoom in because text. I'm losing my eyesight apparently. Maybe this is just a me thing, but I wanted this game, or what I want was this game. Uh, what I want was the school activities, student shenanigans game. I guess is what I should have wrote there. I wish I was a Hogwarts student, forcing myself to wake up in time to go to class, meeting people and friends, and punking on Gryffindor students. And then during free time, doing all the collectibles and exploring. Then, with all the friends made along the way, we stopped the threat to Hogwarts. Uh, Admittedly, this is very similar to the Harry Potter movies. And so once again, I could see the thought of, maybe we don't want to just rehash the Harry Potter movies. But at the same time, I like that's the game that I wanted for this. I don't think there's ever been a game that I have played where you're actually going to school and doing school things on a school cadence and whatnot, which admittedly might be an extremely difficult thing to do. But a lot of the games that I've done, they, like JRPG aspect the things, or dumb it down so much that, the school is just kind of secondary. But for me, the idea of attending Hogwarts is engaging in the school activities and dealing with the students and their shenanigans, the teacher shenanigans, and the threats closing in. That just, I mean, maybe it's my experience with the movies that compels this type of experience from me, but that's just what I want, or what I wanted. With the realization that Hogwarts is just the framework for an open world adventure, a lot of the allure of the game fades. The school activities feel superficial and secondary to the game being open world, and the main story advancement reinforces this. We are not partaking in one continuous main story quest, but rather introduced to a main story element and then thrusted into a lot of side plots, open world interactions, or other various side activities. The trials really bring this issue into focus, because we can't do each trial back to back. We have to wait for a period of time to get the trial ready and for the portraits to think and talk off screen. Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this in my overall thoughts, but like, it to me it feels like this game starts as an open world game, and then things are created to slot into that framework, which might be the correct way to go about it, but it just doesn't feel right to me, because the way that things flow together is not dependent on the what I'm going to say is probably the most important pillar of the game, which is the story, the characters, and just like the narrative, I guess, which is always the weakest part of open world games, come to think of it. Because, when you segment your story, because you have so many places you want them to go and so many things you want them to interact with, you're going to run into those problems. But yeah, this game would have been so much more interesting to me if it was an open world, and I think the open world was its downfall. Um, Rookwood and Ranrock fall into obscurity because of the design of the main story. This makes scenarios like Lodgok being the brother fall flat, as well as his death. The buildup of the two villains is very slow, because instead of expanding on those characters, we're expanding on Isadora Morganac and the Keeper's story. This then spills into the other characters. Professor Fig is the instructor we interact with the most, yet his death is so anticlimactic. All the instructors showing up to save the day felt unrewarded, because those aren't the characters I personally cared about in the game. The students are the ones I interacted with the most. Yeah, it would have been pretty freaking cool if Natsai and Poppy and Sebastian and maybe even Ominous were having my back for the Ranrock fight. That would have been kind of cool. But no, they were nowhere to be seen. Even though I told them, you know, maybe not ominous, but I told them about everything that was basically going on. So I don't know. Maybe if I spilled the beans much sooner, uh, maybe the story has like different endings and stuff like that. It's an open world game. I wouldn't put it behind it for something like that. Overall, I think the story of the game is just spread too thin. It placed focus on aspects that did not make the narrative shine and didn't place enough importance on the characters themselves. Hogwarts Castle should have been a character. All of the students should have been more heavily involved, and the instructors should have been more than just side quest generators. Assignment quests, uh, assignment air quotes, quests to learn new spells should have been made more relevant. This one was also kind of disappointing because I think the only one that you could say was relevant was the no, actually no. The spells that we were learning combined with the tasks that we were doing just didn't make any sense. Like Glacius, we needed to go like pop balloons and some other things to learn Glacius. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Um, and so it was just like silly things like that. There were ones where we had to use use consumable plant ally enemy thingies to like at the same time, and um, it would have just felt nicer. Um, at least in theory, in thought. In practice, it just could suck, but it would have just felt nicer to learn these spells in a more organic way. To not have them be gamified by side quest objectives that have no relevance to the spell at all. But that's just me. Uh, and to retread some thoughts that I mentioned Friday. At least I think it was Friday. I feel like this game would have been much more in my wheelhouse if Sebastian's storyline was the entire main story quest. You're a new student who has a rival in Sebastian, who then turns into an ally. He's helping you with various investigations and school activities while we are helping him, slowly learning of his sister and the relationship he's having with his family. It all comes to the culmination where we have to choose Sebastian's fate. This to me could have been a very personable story and one centered around the school, making Hogwarts the actual hub rather than a huge open world place. I still believe in this. Um, I like the individual story beats of Sebastian's story, I guess. Um, I like how the I like how we're put into situations where we need to cast unforgivable curses on our friends and allies just so that we can uh like save somebody that Sebastian really cares about. And I like being put into scenarios where we have to consider the repercussions of the things that we're doing to do this. Like these are all great moral choices for characters to be making one another, evaluating the like the gravity of, is it okay to hurt your friends to the point where they they might not even become your friends anymore just so that you can save the person that you've been trying to save along the way. You know, like how much is too much to save the people you love? And the exploring those aspects in Sebastian's story, if it was more fleshed out with more interactions and whatnot, it would have just been so good. It would have been so good. The last thing I have for story is I really like that the story acknowledges side quest milestones. I thought this was pretty cool. There weren't a ton of implementations of this, but I recognized the ones that happened. It was usually like, I think it was like the midpoint and then, towards the end and whatnot. But it was still cool. She was like, "You even caught a unicorn." And I was like, "Hey, I did catch a unicorn." So, yeah. Teachers are threats, can confirm. Teachers are a bunch of suckafoos. Gameplay mechanics and design. What gameplay elements stand out? This is going to be just a random hodgepodge of ideas. I don't think there's really any flow here. Waiting for plants to grow and potions to brew, animals to mate, looting animal fur, etc. is not great. Bars. I can definitely understand some design methodology of why it exists, but it wasn't a successful implementation for me, especially with this being a single player game. So yeah, putting a timer on when you can complete a certain task and then a cooldown of like 30 minutes or whatever to harvest a resource. These are very much mobile-esque things, and I can see the idea of having this in here. It's like, oh, if you get too many of these resources, you're going to become overpowered. Except, was I overpowered at the end? Not because of the resources, that's for sure. I wasn't using any of the plants. I wasn't using any of the potions. I wasn't using, like I did upgrade a couple of times, but I don't know. It just feels so out of place, I guess, to just have these timers in the game. In a recent game I played, I confronted a flip-flop nature I had where I wanted side quest, uh, uh, I guess I'm going to say objects because that's what it says here, but I think I meant to say objectives. I wanted side quest objects staggered versus having them introduced slowly. I still don't know the current approach or the correct approach, but I can say that I don't like how many are introduced here and that they are all required main quest stuff for the first part. So that last part isn't true. Not everything is a requirement. The first part is required in the main story, but a decent chunk of them, like the astronomy um, uh, table thing and some other stuff, whatever. Um, yeah, so on one hand, it's one of those scenarios where it's like just open up everything for me and just overwhelm me at the start and I'll pick and choose what I want. But I've been placed into situations like that before. I've played an open world game a really long time ago that I stopped playing because there was just so many quests and so many things on the map and I just couldn't choose what I wanted to do. And I stopped playing it and I came back to it years later and then I finished it. Um, the game that I played recently was like, I felt like it was releasing, like it started out where they just opened up everything and I can just pick and choose, but it didn't have a lot of things to choose. So I didn't feel overwhelmed and I got to, just go to the places that I wanted to go and it felt great. And then later on, it was new ones were unlocked through the main story, kind of like this one, where it was the first part of them was main story, and then everything else was optional. But it just felt like it might have taken too long to unlock everything because it was scattered throughout the game. And I didn't necessarily like that approach. And this game approaches it very similar to that. But also, this game is, at least from my experience and my interpretations of the things that I've encountered, this game is designed for you to engage in those optional things to the point where, like, if you don't, then you just can't progress the game without doing those. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to put like three cardinal sins for that. Cardinal sin times three. The limited inventory space in this game is extremely disappointing and feels artificially limited for other reasons. It feels like so much more room can be added and needs to be added. The animal pen limits were also sad. Yeah, I haven't played a modern game in I haven't played a modern game where it had as small of an inventory as this one has in a long time off the top of my head. Usually, inventory limits were always hardware limitations and software limitations and things like that. But this game doesn't seem like it should have any of that. So, why do I have 20 inventory slots? Hello? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then I have to run around and do all these like side objectives just to do all that. I ain't rocking with that. Uh, well, look there, I guess. Um, let's see. I want us to move away from styles of gameplay where we need to repeatedly cast Revelio to reveal things. I would much rather this be a toggle that will reveal slash highlight applicable objects from within a radius. When highlighted, they remain that way until the toggle is turned off. For things like pages, those would show a lens flare like thing in the direction it is if it is off screen, and if the player is facing it while within Revelio's range, it would have the same highlight that it does now, except that it doesn't go away until Revelio is turned off. So there are games out there that have, reveal to highlight things that are around you. And I'm thinking of one game in particular where the range on it is so tiny and it's so annoying. And you have to just repeatedly cast it, and it's not fun. And this game reminded me of my experience in that game. It's not as bad as that game was for me, but it's pretty up there where it's like I just have to keep casting this, and it's not fun to just keep casting this. So, like, can we just have an aura, a bubble around us, and everything in that bubble is just highlighted. I just don't get it. But the sooner we move away from this, the better. Um, the controls for flying the broom on a controller. There's definitely got to be a better way to handle that. Turning with the left stick while the right stick moves the camera when used horizontally, or going up and down when moved vertically feels so wrong to me. Yeah. Um, you also can't look up and down because there's no camera control for looking up and down. Maybe that's like the mental block that I had is because I always want to look down while riding the broom, and I just can't do that, and so it destroys me. But um, wasn't a fan of having the camera and vertical movement be tied to the same uh, stick in the sense of like one axis could only do one thing. If you could just move like if the left stick just allowed me to move however I wanted to go, up, down, sideways, whatever, and then the right stick was the camera that kind of directed me in those directions and whatnot, I would have been totally fine with it. I don't know, like I don't know. Anyways, I struggle with the UI in areas for my play style. The options are heavy with transitions. This prevents me from quickly navigating or cycling through my menu, which is something I want to do. I like the flair, but this implementation was too much. So, since we're in the game, I can show off an example of this. Um, let's go to the map. All right. Let's say I want to go to gear. Well, I can take my cursor and I can go up there and I can choose gear, but I also have the ability to to go through this, and it just takes too long. Like I'm repeatedly pressing this, and it's just taking so long. Like it has to do like these little animation things, and I just wish it was a little bit snappier. Um, on a controller, the speed of the cursor is pretty slow. I think this is pretty slow. Maybe I'm just too used to being a mouse and keyboard person for so long, but that's too slow for me. I might be able to change that in the settings. I don't know. I do appreciate the main menu, air quotes, when pressing start, as well as the navigation bar at the top. Though most games out there would make you back out of every menu before going into another one. And this allows you to jump from one menu into another. It's very nice. Yeah. So in the same way where, I was complaining that cycling through these main menu options up here is too slow, I do appreciate that this is up here because that's great. And this is also quite nice to have as well. I appreciate that. Uh, I wish the cosmetic gear equipping was handled differently. I don't like that whenever I change the gear I'm wearing, it changes my cosmetic look. I'd rather the cosmetic be applied to the category of gear so that even if I change the equipment, I can keep the look I really want. Uh, This is another thing. This is a very minor thing, but it just kind of gets in the way. I wish there was like a little icon, like this little icon, the little eyeball house thing. Just like put a little icon right next to the box there, and that determines um, what overwrites whatever's in this slot. And like I can just press it to enable and disable, or I can press and hold, and I can go into the option, like the menu option to change out a different one. I feel like that would have been a much stronger implementation. My own personal opinion. Everything is my own personal opinion. Don't get mad at me. Well, get mad at me. Reading those comments is funny. Um, let's see. I really, really dislike the map. The main maps, like Hogwarts, are obnoxious to navigate because the fast travel points are tied to icons that I have to click first to see. These icons also denote areas in the school, and there can be confusion on which flag needs to be clicked to go to a certain fast travel point. This is another thing. So for Hogwarts, in order for me to travel somewhere, I have to like I can't just click on a flue flame right now and go somewhere. I have to click on the area that that flue flame is, and then I can go select that flue flame and do that. That's annoying. Um, Also, if uh, this is probably not a good example, but like it's kind of hard to tell sometimes where you need to go. Um, I don't think I have any quests in this area, but like sometimes it's just not easy to figure out what flag is responsible for where the quest is. And this is particularly an issue with the dark arts area. I don't know where that is. But like there's one area where I always get confused. Might even be this one, and like this one, and this one. It's like, where's the flames going? What are we doing? Anyways, um, let's see. I do like that you can see how many collectibles are left for a particular region, town, map, etc. Many games out there don't do that, and they need to. Yeah. So we were messing around with that, for the last couple of hours. I like that I can mouse over one of these flags and be like, okay, everything in this area, I know exactly what type of collectibles are there and what else I need. I need six more treasure chests and four more field guide pages. That's wonderful. I dig it. That said, I wish the game tracked more of the collectibles that Revelio makes appear, and that they assign different colors, shapes, or another identifying markers so that we know that they are there. As an example, finding the last key cabinet for the house chest could have been such a simpler process, especially because I had already visited that place. Yeah, I needed that last key chest, and I had no idea where it was, and eventually I stumbled upon it, but it was one that I had already discovered once before. So if if I could have just like if that was just on the map, if I had the ability to turn off, this is not in here, but I might as well add this in here. If I had the ability to turn off and on certain uh, like side collectible objectives and things like that, that would also be very, very helpful. That way, you don't feel overwhelmed and you can um, focus on the things that you want without, other outside distractions. Um, the other thing which prompted this idea was the demiguise statues. Like those definitely need to be uh, tracked somehow. Like with Revelio and an icon on the map. Definitely. Especially because they only appear at night. For the world map, I feel an uncontrollable urge to rotate it, and that doesn't appear to be possible. Selecting icons can be bothersome, especially because they can move around when trying to access them. Yeah, yeah. So, as far as I can tell, you cannot rotate this map, but there are just scenarios where I I want to I want to rotate it so that I can see what's going on. Like instead of moving over here to see what's going on, you know, I I just want to rotate it so that I can see what is on the other side of this mountain instead I have to go all the way over here. And even then, like the mountain is still covering some things. And what I was talking about with icons moving, this area right here has a lot of icons on it. I can't select any of those icons with the current zoom that I have. So if I go here, it moves there. But sometimes if you just like move away too much, you know, you're not as precise. Maybe the mouse sensitivity is not that great. It'll just move away. And I've ran into that situations on multiple times. There is a snap, but you know, uh, it's not powerful enough for me, I guess. Um, so approaching this a little bit differently, I think, would be more successful for me. Um, I don't have an example, but one of the things that I was thinking is um, at max zoom or almost max zoom, you can see, like, you can hover over something, and if those icons just moved out once you did that, which is effectively what it like happens right here, but just on uh, a more zoomed out scale, I think maybe that would work for me. And you know, they would stay zoomed out until you moved your cursor, you know, significantly farther away or something. It was just a random idea. I didn't write that down though. Um, I also wish there was an area map. Essentially, whatever is on the minimap, but much bigger. Navigating through dungeons, trying to find your way through Hogwarts, places like that, I really wanted a bigger map for. Yeah. So that mini map over there, I just wish I could press a button and you know my screen would be overtaken with a map and I can see the inner workings of things and where I want to go and maybe place markers and stuff like that. That map would be far more helpful than this map. This map is not helpful at all. This one's also the only one that, as far as I know, that you can rotate as well. So, you know, sadness. Um, where was I? Being unable to see side quests without clicking on the flag icon is not something I like. I also do not like this. Um, each of these black flags have a side quest associated with it, and I cannot see that side quest until I click on the flag and then mouse over that particular side quest. I would have just liked to see them here. Maybe you can put them on a little sidebar or something like that. You know, I don't know. There's plenty of ways to do it, but um, stuff and stuff with the stuff and stuff. Uh, Other than because this is Harry Potter, I don't really understand why there are so many mount options. The broom appears to be the only one that can be upgraded, but understanding how fast it is feels difficult. Having hippogriff mounts seem to lack benefits of being on a broom, so I struggle to see why I would want to ride one. The graph horn feels like a really odd addition, especially because it's so late into the game. I just can't see a scenario where I would want to ride one ever. Yeah, so like I can get it from a, you know, hey, where it's a Harry Potter game. Let's add some cool stuff. Let's add some animals. You can capture some animals and then you can ride them, you know? Like that's cool. But why? Like why did we do this? What benefit do we get from doing this other than, oh, you know, I got a hippogriff. That's cool. If the hippogriff is worse than the broom, why would I ride the hippogriff? You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm just not an advocate for cool things. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying add the cool things, but you know, make those cool things do cool things. Don't just have them do be cool. I don't know. Add cool things. You know, if you don't want to add cool stuff to the cool things, you know, that's fine. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. While I appreciate having a lot of spells that all provide their own unique utility and use, I need a better way to use all the spells I had access to. Talents give access to three other pages. Pages is probably the like three other uh, pages is definitely not what I should be using there, but three other pages that can hold four spells each. But this was not only not enough to accomplish everything I wanted to do, but it's not even enough to hold all the spells. This definitely bothered me. Um, ooh, this is such a nicer layout than it is on a controller. So I have these, which do I have it in here? I do not. These are, in my opinion, something that we call in the Dungeons and Dragons world feat taxes. In Dungeons and Dragons, you have these things called feats that make your characters do more things, make them more powerful, expand their horizons, and things like that. And there are some of those that apply a certain power to your character that effectively makes them required. So it's a tax because you have to take it in order to feel competitive or do the thing that needs to be done in like all games out there basically. And I feel like that's the case here. I feel like you're basically just down three talent points because there is no freaking way you're going to play this game with one page of spells and you're just going to swap them out every time you have a problem that needs one of those spells to be fixed. There's too many spells and there's just not enough pages. So I really feel like that needs to be addressed. And reducing the amount of spells is not how I would do it. Um, Spells like Reparo should have been an automatic thing like Alohomora, rather than have the spell on your wheel and use it. Um, that to me is a great fix for that. I was trying to think of a way to get the light spell to do the same thing, but I don't think that's gonna work out very well. You know, you can keep the light spell. The room of requirement spells should only be allowed in that place and automatically show up when in there as a unique wheel, uh, a unique spell wheel to that place. Same goes for feeding and petting pets. So, at the risk of, you know, finding a bunch of voice acting or whatever that totally, you know, interrupt the process. When you go inside of a uh, animal pen thing, there's this little icon right above me. It says "Manage Beasts," and it's the RB button. If if I could have another button there, you know, maybe LB, you know, since why would anybody want to use a potion or a consumable inside of uh their whatchamacallit place? If I just had that in here and it was have access to um your transmutation spells and your um animal spells, that would be wonderful. And I think a very successful way to approach it. Right? No, I cannot get on my broom in here. Oops, I did not want to do that. I This is actually a nicer backdrop. Watch the animals play. Um, let me see. Me playing on whatever non-hard difficulty option, I feel like basically everything on the consumable wheel was useless and unneeded. Yeah, I, I'm not someone who plays on the harder difficulties, so maybe all of these things are incredibly useful and just like super nice, But I didn't really care about any of these things. I used them for a couple of quests and then I never used them again. Um, yeah, wow, potion invisibility is only 4 seconds. I, yeah, I don't know. I just don't see, I didn't feel the necessity, but I also didn't, spend much time with these things, doing more damage for 20 seconds. It was pretty nice. But I could have done without a lot of these things and instead put more spells here. Um, have access to spell wheels uh, and whatnot, so that I can do all the spells that I need to do without swapping out spells and all that other crazy stuff. Um, let's see. The animal pens are wonderful. I don't really feel like it fits with the game, but I like it. And that is true facts. I don't know why these exist, but I dig it. I dig it a lot. Oops. I'm just doing things. Come on. Come on. Look. Play with the ball. Let's see. Where am I leaving off? I really like that the screen to choose the save file has little scenes that play out, with more being added depending on how far into the main story and side quests you get. I also like that the background updates based on the same criteria. Let me see if I can show that. Oh, watching the animals play is more important than that. But basically, when you load up the game and then there's the title screen, and then you press past the title screen, then you can see your character. He's standing in the room of requirement, and there's all this background stuff. And that is what I'm referring to. I think that's super cool, and I like it a lot. We'll exit to the main menu. Just say life is hard. That way people can see what I'm talking about. For combat, over here. For combat, combat is surprisingly fun and fast paced. Enemies with shields offer some variety to spell rotation, and I like the ancient spell extras like throwing objects and doing massive damage. I also like the dueling feats associated with encounters. It spices up each fight, giving you an opportunity to do extra things. Not sure if it rewards you for it, though. Something I never got around to testing. I had a similar criticism in a game I played not long ago, but when having enemy attacks that require a parry or dodge, I wish those indicators were extremely distinct and different from one another. A change in color is not enough for me personally to recognize it in a fast paced combat encounter. I need different shapes like a triangle and maybe even a different place that indicator appears. Yeah, that was. That was probably the one that I struggled with the most. Is the indicator to parry is orange, and the indicator to orange in a circle, and the indicator to dodge is red in a circle, but it has like these little we'll just call them like spears sticking out of it, spear tips sticking out. And that to me is just not distinct enough. For me, my slow reaction time and all this other junk. Too many things are going on in combat for me to quickly look at that and I see a circle and it's red and I press parry when I'm supposed to dodge. I'm just not good at those things. If it was a triangle, if it was a square, if it was a rectangle, if it was a rhombus, you know, give me something more that I can associate with it that's not just a circle with some jagged edges. That would be more successful for me personally. Nothing for dungeons. For Cardinal Sins, main story missions are side quests. I am also going to say side quests are required to progress the main story because uh, that is definitely a thing that we learned today. Miscellaneous sound and music. Music seems solid. There were one or two tracks that I want to hear again. I think I'll probably listen to this soundtrack on YouTube and see if I want to purchase it to make some fat beats, some certified bangers. For voice acting, can be very stiff, which isn't made better by the facial animations. There are times when the voice actors are emoting or being very enthusiastic, but the character's face doesn't reflect that at all. It's strange. Not only that, there's moments where, like, I think it was when uh, our character got to fly high wing for the first time, and he was like, "Whoa!" But it was so uh there was not a lot of excitement and like energy to the to it being said. It was just it was funny to me. Um so overall I think the voice acting was fine. I just think the facial animations could better reflect the voice acting, and there are just times where the voice acting um, could have more accurately conveyed a character's excitement or disappointment or anger and things like that. But overall, it was fine. For graphics, I thought the graphics looked great. Texture work was nice. Animations were overall very nice. Um, you know, nicely done. For back to sound. Sound balance needed more adjustments. Character voices would be loud for some lines and quiet for others. Sound effects and music could drown out everything that's happening because they are way louder than the vast majority of the game. Example being running into cover from the dragon. Yeah, that was definitely a problem, and stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. For other, is the game worth recommending? So I think if you like, I think the best way to approach this is if you like every open world game that you play, then this is the game to go with. Um, I don't think this game is worth playing only because you like Harry Potter. think this game is worth playing because you enjoy open world games and you like the collectathon nature. And, oh, all of those collectathon things just happen to be Harry Potter related. Bonus for me. I think that's the best way to approach a recommendation for this game. Other than that, I think this game is too open world for anyone else. So I probably wouldn't recommend it to anyone else. If the developer is watching, many of my criticisms and dislikes for the game stem from the open world nature. Hogwarts Castle is so large that it in it, oh boy, that it in of itself could be an open world game with secrets, Easter eggs, and random events. These things exist already, but it's not the focus. I feel like the game is spread out too much in world design, scope, character building, etc. A condensed story that limits the students you interact with, a renewed emphasis in exploring only the castle and its immediate grounds, and focusing on a continuous narrative would have been the path to success for me. I do think that the combat design is strong, and with some tweaks to how spells are accessed, I think could be even more fun. A lot more time, or a lot of time, is spent fighting rather than using utility spells. So recognizing those use cases and allocating slots there would help me out a bunch. Overall, I just want to see the game reined in and made more intimate with the setting and characters. Adding Quidditch wouldn't be a bad addition either. And would I want a sequel? Not if it's an open world game. Um, I I don't think there's a universe where a Hogwarts Legacy 2 comes out and it's not a sequel, but I just really want to explore a single player story that's just condensed and focused in the Harry Potter universe, and just see how that goes. I think that would be a lot of fun. But yeah, to reiterate my overall thoughts, I thought the game was okay. Downward slope of okay. Um, I I didn't enjoy as much of the gameplay as I wanted to, and the open world aspects of the game just kind of weighed down on me. But there were some moments that I did enjoy, and there were some highs that I think back to, and I'm like, what, that was pretty cool. So um, I, I'm certainly curious to see where this franchise goes from here. But that is all that I got for today. Much longer stream than I thought it was going to be today. I thought we were going to be here for like an hour, and then yeah. But anyways, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow, 7 a.m. Pacific time, to continue the stream with a new game. Because we're done with Hogwarts Legacy. I'm not going to collect everything. But yeah, with that, see ya the next time I see ya. Peace.